Hey everybody, how are you doing today? I'm making a video today about how a lot of non-black violence is ignored, black on non-black violence. I felt that this video needed to be done because no one else has done it on YouTube, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things that people really like to overlook and act like never happened. You look at like all the examples of like with Hawaii, which technically was a territory of ours, and you know we we control what we did to control them was pretty terrible. And you look at them like the Japanese, they just wanted to go back. They believed it was the ancient Hawaiian states, that at one time Hawaii was part of Japan. And this was something that they believed in a long time ago, and something that is overlooked and ignored based on the idea of those things. I mean, you look at the United States and you'll see that like basically, like I'll say this, is that you'll look at us and then you'll see that all the Native American genocide, which people say is, they'll make the excuse and say like it's smallpox and things like that, but in reality what it was too was a lot of the fact that they they denied them any treatment, and they used blankets laced with smallpox and things like that. And if you look at the statistics of certain things, let me get those statistics up. And you can basically see here you'll basically see once I get to where I wanted to go, and you'll see like all these examples here that are going to be coming up. Of course this one's the number one, but if you were to go somewhere else and look at like what happened to a lot of people of the Americas, among other people, you would see that it's pretty bad. And that's how many happen here, but no one talks about any of this, any of the Native American genocide, which is which is more important. Instead the only real victims can be like blacks and Jews in this country. I'm not saying that what happened to them was terrible as well, but if you look at it through that lens, you'll see that most of them didn't have it nearly like as bad compared to like what happened with the Native Americans. I mean, Bill Maher acted like what happened to them was fine. And, if you look at like, let me show you the statistics here for that. In comparison, this is all ignored though. This is all ignored. This whole thing is ignored, except for blacks and Jews. They're really the only ones that anyone gives two shits to listen to, and everybody else is, basically, everybody else is suffering, whether, and the Irish as well are ignored. No one really talks about what happened to a lot of the Native Americans. They act like, or Tibet, or other places, they act like, oh, well, those places don't matter. And in reality, you can find, statistics, based on certain things, the Canada Europeans, as a matter of fact, if you want to see something in Canada, they can legally just leave a fucking reservation and, somebody just killed somebody and they will be found not guilty, even if you killed like 5 people on a reservation or raped a couple of women, and nothing happens to them. And of course the far right and the far left both ignore this, and the middle ignore it the most. I mean, like, for instance, people like, just saying like stuff like this instead of just calling people out on their bullshit and telling them, that, of course, though, people always find like Tariq Nasheed or Spike Lee, something that, oh, well, they did something to us that's worse. And, of course, they'll just ignore the fact that you can also be a criminal and things like that. The thing that gets me the most of all is that people act like this is fine. Yet, at the same time, if you call anyone out on it, you're automatically racist. And, it's true. I'm just telling you what the truth is. It's ignored. Black and Jewish suffering is basically acknowledged. But, the funny thing is about Jewish people, too, is if you look at black on Jewish violence, it happens all the time in Crown Heights, Williamsburg, all these places. And, of course, their media will act like, oh, well, that's fine. Yet, if somebody else, like a Hispanic or anyone else, does something to them, they'll act like, oh, well, no, you can't do that. So, the funny thing is there were no borders prior European arrival. And I'm just saying, my argument here is that everyone ignores the fact of what happened to basically non-black suffering, non-Jew or black suffering. So, if you're basically talking about like Native Americans, all these things, if you listen to Bill Maher, everybody acts like, oh, well, yeah, what happened to them was fine. And, of course, people are going to say I'm anti-Semitic or I'm anti-black. I'm not anti either of them. I'm just saying, why is it okay to ignore everyone else's problems? To act like nothing ever happened to them. You have to also bring in the question why these immigrants that shouldn't really be immigrants. It's the Americas. Technically, the Americas are the Americas. We shouldn't even really have, all these borders and things like that. At one time, America in general, when I mean America, I mean North and South America. I'm tired. If you're going to say Mexico, you might as well say Mexico of America because it's part of the Americas as well. And to say the United States of America is a proper term. Say Canada of America. It doesn't mean it's a country. It means it's in the Americas, which the Americas refers to as the New World. But everyone tends to ignore these debates, and no one really wants to acknowledge it. So what the Spanish and Portuguese and British did was awful. And people are today acting like, oh, well, we gotta help them. Why the fuck do we have to help them? Look what they did to everybody else that I just mentioned there. And, the funny thing is, I wonder, why people just blatantly ignore so many of these things. Like, everybody is so afraid to call people out on this. Like, if you look at what the Buffalo Soldiers did, and Bob Marley made a song on that, yet it has 154 million views. So this guy, this dope smoking, ganja smoking fucker, makes a song about it, and it has 154 million views. That makes you wonder, how could somebody do that, and it's perfectly fine? It's ridiculous, but, you look at this, like here, 17 indigenous tribes of Paraguay, 2002 number, an estimate of 86,000, or roughly around 2% of the total population. These people have faced persecution and things like this. So if you look at these things, look at these examples. I can give you examples for days and days and days, and no one talks about any of this. No one talks about any of these examples. It's all just ignored. Well, anyway, that's my rant about this, that I think the far left and far right ignore. So, if you want to put your 2 cents in, you can, and, it's up to you. If you don't agree with my video, that's fine. I just figured I'd get the ball rolling on this and tell people, like, what the real problem is, and why I think that people need to stop ignoring these issues. And, if we really wanted to really truly have equality, then everybody's issues should be acknowledged equally. And, they're not being acknowledged equally. They're just ignoring them. And, like I said, I don't have a problem with people getting help. I don't have a problem with listening to people. If people want to come to my channel and leave their dirty little nasty comments all over my channel and tell me how much of a racist I am about thinking this way, fine. I don't mind. I'll talk to you about it. I'll answer your questions. I'll tell you why I think the way I do, and you can tell me why I'm wrong in your mindset. So anyway, I just wanted to put this out there and get the ball rolling, and I want to hear people who have experienced something like this and have the same thoughts of, who are Asian American, Asian, people coming to the Americas. I'm going to call it the Americas from now on because, despite what that orange Cheeto dusted president in office wants to call it just America, he can do whatever he wants. But the fact is, I'm doing this because I want people to understand that there is real problems here, and everybody just ignores the fact that it happens. They just ignore it, and they act like, oh, it's fine, this is why it should happen. And it's like, no, it shouldn't. Why is it that this is fine, that people do this? Look at all this genocide in Paraguay that happens. You see what I'm saying here? No one talks about any of this. No one analyzes any of this. Any of it. The United States never talked about it. Why weren't there wars fought here to free these people? Why weren't there things like that? They had cures for smallpox, all that shit back then. They didn't do a goddamn thing to help any of these. No, instead it was the Jewish people who basically caused their own suffering by holding all the Germans under, some sort of like subsidized housing bullshit where they couldn't get homes. They had them all these problems. They were greedy fucks during the time. And I'm not saying that means you do that to somebody, but they're the only ones who get this fucking acknowledgement of it, are the Jews and the blacks. And no one else gives a shit about anyone else. And I've just given you examples here. Why is it that no one does that? So anyway, I gotta get going. Well, tell me what you think of my video. Okay, thanks, bye.